Right now, the New York Rangers are on the outside looking in of a playoff spot as they are currently in the Eastern Conference wildcard race, mixed in there with, you could say, 6 or 7 other teams right now kind of battling for those 2 spots in the Eastern Conference. And after having a very successful season last season, making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to the eventual Stanley Cup champions, and obviously winning the President's Trophy as well, being the best team in the entire NHL in the regular season, last season was a very good one for the Rangers overall. Now, they didn't win the ultimate goal of the Stanley Cup, but it still was a pretty successful overall season compared to most other teams in the NHL, that's for sure. But so far this season, they definitely had their ups and downs, and right now, like I said, are on the outside looking in of the playoffs and are definitely a team trying to battle and kind of get back in the mix there and get back into a wild card or at least playoff spot. So, in today's video, we're going to take a look at one of the reasons kind of why this team has maybe taken a bit of a step back from last season, and that is the line of Artemi Panarin, Alexis Lafreniere, and Vincent Trocheck. But in today's video, we're going to more focus in on Alexis Lafreniere here and kind of talk about his overall season so far, kind of how he's played, and he also had quite a few kind of quotes here, as well as Peter Laviolette did, the head coach, kind of talking about Lafreniere and kind of both these people, Lafreniere and Laviolette, the head coach, kind of talking about Lafreniere and kind of his play so far, and also kind of how Lafreniere wants to definitely turn things around. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at what Lafreniere and Peter Laviolette had to say, talk about that whole situation with Lafreniere and kind of how, a lot of Rangers fans also do want to see him kind of possibly traded away, as well as we'll take a look at the upcoming NHL games for the New York Rangers as things are starting to slowly kind of get back into gear here as we are rapidly approaching the return of the NHL, which definitely should be a very exciting thing for Rangers fans as we are hopefully going to see our team get right back into the playoff mix. So let's get right into it here and start off by taking a look at some quotes here. First one from Alexis Lafreniere as he ends up saying, quote, "It was great," Lafreniere told Aloha.com, part of the USA Today network, from his locker room at the MSG Training Center on Tuesday afternoon. "We play a lot of games in this season. You never really stop, it feels like. So to get a mid-season break, it's always good to kind of reset, relax a bit, and be fresh for the rest of the year." And with how things have gone so far this season after signing that pretty massive extension, the team overall definitely hasn't played the best, and Lafreniere has been a part of that, but I'm definitely not going to say he's the only player who has kind of had a bit of a down season, you could say. I mean, other guys on his line, Panarin and Trocheck as well, are also players who have definitely had a bit of a down season compared to last year. So I'm hopeful that this break can be a really good thing for Lafreniere and his line mates as well. I mean, obviously Panarin's getting a break, but Trocheck's not. But it is kind of maybe a good thing for him as he is getting to play some very high intensity, meaningful hockey right now, which hopefully for his sake can kind of really get him back in gear and really starting to get him buzzing when he comes back with the Rangers, hopefully. So we'll have to wait and see, but I am just kind of hopeful here that this little Four Nations face-off break can kind of be a really good thing for the whole entire Rangers team as a whole, but specifically, the line of guys like Lafreniere, Panarin, and Trocheck, because we need this line to get back on track, to get back towards their kind of elite offensive ways, which we definitely have seen them, be at in the past. So hopefully they can kind of turn things around and get back on track to where they definitely can be, and we have seen at moments as well. And now for another quote here from Lafreniere as he ends up saying, "I started off well, and then lately, I haven't liked my game as much," he said. "I'm not making that many plays, but I feel like just the game in general, I'd like to be better and be more involved." He also went on to say, "I can be a lot better personally," Lafreniere said, "everywhere, defensively, offensively, all over the ice." And Lafreniere has definitely had his moments this season where I think he has made some mistakes defensively. And when you are playing on a line with a guy like Artemi Panarin, for example, who, yes, he is an absolutely elite offensive threat, but defensively, we know what he's going to be, and that is a liability and a negative, winger defensively out there on the ice. It's what he is. He's not going to be a great defensive winger. So when you are out there with a player like that, who is that elite offensive guy, but definitely has his issues and kind of lapses defensively, that can also, make your game a little harder as well, right? Because Lafreniere has to do a little more defensively than if he were playing with a guy like maybe Kreider, for example. I'm not saying Kreider is, an elite defensive winger, but he definitely can do a better job defensively than someone like an Artemi Panarin. So I think, yes, Lafreniere is definitely having to do maybe a bit harder of a job defensively than if we were playing with certain other wingers in the NHL. But I think for the most part, yes, he has had his issues, but I think going forward with his contract and just in general, I think going forward with Lafreniere, I'm not worried about his game. I mean, yes, he's having some issues right now for sure and is not playing his best hockey that we have seen at the NHL level, but I think we've seen a decent little sample size of what Lafreniere can definitely be at the NHL level, and that is a really good top 6 forward. I think that's what he's probably going to be for the foreseeable future. Now, is he going to take those next steps in his game to become that consistent, point per game plus kind of player, or around a point per game kind of player? We'll have to wait and see, but I definitely still think he's going to be that at least 50, 60 kind of point player, something around there, while also probably being able to hold his own at least defensively. But taking a look now at something that Peter Laviolette, the Rangers head coach, had to say about Lafreniere, and he ended up saying, Laviolette said Lafreniere will have to be a, quote, big piece if the Rangers are going to rally back into playoff position, but the 6'2", 196-pounder has struggled to build on last season's breakout performance. And I agree. I mean, Lafreniere is definitely going to need to play a pretty big, part in this team's kind of turned around. I mean, obviously, they have definitely made their strides back towards making that push for the playoffs, but this team is still on the outside looking in, and there are quite a few teams that they're going to be battling with right now for, one of those spots, and the Rangers are definitely going to need Lafreniere and that line as a whole, not just Lafreniere, but also Panarin and Trocheck to kind of get back on track as well, because Lafreniere is not the only player, on this Rangers team, or not the only player, that's for sure, on that line even, that has kind of taken maybe a bit of a step back from last season and hasn't done kind of what they've done in the past for this team. So Lafreniere is not the only guy who has struggled to kind of, continue to build on last season's kind of performance. So it definitely sucks, but I have some faith and hope that they can turn things around here this break and hopefully be a really good thing for this Rangers team, not only for, this line, but the rest of the team as well, because it's not just this line that needs to kind of get back on track here. It is a lot of other players as well, but we have started to see, some kind of things starting to turn around a little bit here. I mean, a guy like Mika Zibanejad, who has definitely been a big kind of talking point this season for Rangers fans. He has obviously started to turn things around a little bit since kind of going over to the wing there, so that could be a really good thing as well for this team going forward. And in the coming days, I am probably going to have a video out kind of really diving into the kind of upcoming schedule here before, the upcoming trade deadline and all that kind of stuff, and really kind of diving in deep to the schedule and the standings. But I think for right now, we'll just kind of take a little kind of quick look at it. And, the next 3 games for the Rangers coming back from the break, I think are going to be massive. I mean, these are 3 teams who are more than beatable. And I think this is something that if the Rangers don't win at least, 2 of these next 3 games here coming back from the break, they're going to be in a pretty rough spot here to really kind of make the playoffs. I think it's going to really set them back because of the kind of need to really kind of win. A lot of these games are coming up before the trade deadline. The Rangers have 7 games in between the end of the break here for the Four Nations face-off and the trade deadline. So 3 of them, or obviously about half of those 7 games there, they're going to have to play a pretty big kind of, factor in this. And when you consider the teams, it definitely is kind of telling the Rangers definitely need to win these games, as they're playing the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday, February 22nd. Then on Sunday, the next day, the Penguins. And then on Tuesday, the 25th, they will play the Islanders. So I think it is extremely important for this Rangers team to get off to a very good start coming off this break. I mean, obviously for any team it is, but when you have 3 very winnable games and you're just on the outside looking in and you only have 7 games before the upcoming trade deadline, these 3 games are going to play a pretty massive role possibly in what this team's going to ultimately decide to do at the trade deadline potentially. So hopefully the New York Rangers can have a pretty hot start coming off their break, which would definitely help them make that playoff push. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. We are also so close to 3,000 subscribers, so if you can hit that subscribe button, I would really, really appreciate it. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on the upcoming games here for the New York Rangers as they make their playoff push, as well as kind of your thoughts on Alexis Lafreniere and that line as a whole. Do you think they're going to kind of bounce back? Or do you think they're going to kind of play even worse or about the same? Let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you next one. And let's go Rangers.